back to Keeping Up with the Klee Kai. Today we have a huge topic to discuss, and that is all about our dog's body language. So, what is your dog trying to tell you? Today we're discussing the ways that you can read your dog's body language. Dogs have a body language that is going to allow them to communicate like emotionally and intentionally. So they're going to intentionally share their emotions with other animals and with us humans. So this could be pretty important because we cannot obviously communicate with our dogs vocally. Although they do learn our language quite a bit, but we don't really understand theirs. And that's what the goal is for us to be able to understand our dogs, whether it's good or bad things, you know, whether they're hurting or they're not. So although dogs do use sound and signals, much of a dog's communication is sent through their body language, especially their facial expressions, their body posture, and their body languages like their ears, their tail, their eyes, all of that stuff. So understanding your dog's body language is an important part to communicating with your canine companion. So what is your dog saying? That can give us a lot of useful information, such as when your dog is spooked, when they're nervous about what's going on, or when your dog is edgy and they might be ready to snap at somebody. Hopefully not, but you never know. You can look at like their dog's face or their entire body and really determine what your dog is thinking and actually even predict some of its behavior that is coming and hopefully prevent and avoid situations that you really don't want to deal with. All right, so let's talk about their tail. A dog's tail is full of body language, like a lot of clues for us. So obviously different breeds are going to have a different tail set and different carriage. So some are going to have curly tails. Others might have short, stubby tails. So it is important to know your dog's neutral tail position. This is going to allow you to quickly recognize if their emotion has shifted. So tail wagging seems to be an obvious body language. A lot of times we think that when the dog wags their tail, that it means they're happy, but that is not necessarily the meaning. We can misinterpret these signals all of the time. So all a wagging tail means is that the dog is emotionally aroused. So this could be excitement, but it could be frustration or even worse. So in order to interpret a dog's emotion and intentions, we have to look at the speed and the direction of the wag, as well as the position of the tail. So basically, the faster that tail wags, the more aroused your dog is. If your dog is moving their tail, sweeping back and forth when they're greeting you, or their whole body is wagging, that's a relaxed dog. A faster twitch-like wag is going to indicate a higher level of arousal and possibly even in a negative way. So think of that as like a guard dog on alert, where their tail, like think about a Doberman Pinscher, and they have the short stubby tail and the tail is just going really fast. So that's like a dog on alert. The direction of the wag may hold clues as well. So a recent study on tail wagging showed that dogs tend to wag, this is interesting, dogs tend to wag more to the right side when they're feeling positive about anything, like interacting with their owners. And then tails wag more to the left when dogs are faced with something negative. Then there's the helicopter tail, right? That helicopter tail wag where the dog's tail spins in a circle. Without a question, that is a happy wag. So finally, the position of the dog's tail relative to the ground really holds an important clue about their emotional state. Essentially, the higher that the tail is, the more assertive the dog is. So dogs with the tail pointed down to the ground or tucked between their legs are usually feeling nervous, fear, or stress. Dogs that have their tail up like a flagpole, like straight up, are usually feeling confident, perhaps even maybe a little too aggressive. Relaxed dogs will hold their tail in a neutral position, but remember, neutral position really depends on the breed. So for the Alaskan Klee Kai, their tails are naturally curled over their back, but breeds like a greyhound will have a very low tail carriage. That's just their natural tail carriage. So you have to understand your specific dog, your specific breed, and start to learn what their neutral tail position is. Okay, onto the eyes. Just like humans, facial expressions largely characterized in their eyes. And so knowing a dog firsthand is going to help you easily identify what emotion the eyes are conveying. So that doesn't mean that you can't rely on like the dog's body language clues to what the dog's eyes are telling you. Eyes that appear larger than expected are a sign that the dog is usually feeling like frightened or threatened. However, an aggressive dog's eyes may appear larger. They're gonna show their eyes might be bigger too. So just because their eyes are big doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna be aggressive, but it is a sign that like they could be aggressive or that they're really stressed out or anxious. So you just wanna pay attention to that, especially if they're showing the whites of their eyes. This is a relaxed or approachable dog. So you're gonna notice a lot of things. The tail, again, remember, every breed is different. So not every dog is going to have a long tail. Not every dog is going to be relaxed when they hold their tail down. This is a general association of a relaxed, approachable dog. You're going to know better if your dog's relaxed with their tail just loosely curled, that kind of thing. So their ears are up, but they're not forward. So they're not pointing forward with too much excitement. They're just up, listening, paying attention. Their mouth, their head is high, but you know, they have that happy-go-lucky look. Their mouth is usually slightly open. Maybe their tongue's out a little, not always, but this is usual. This is just usual. And then their stance. So their stance is the way they're standing, how much weight that they're putting on their body, on their legs, if they're leaning forward, that type of stuff. Usually a dog that's relaxed is kind of like us. We're just kind of slouchy. So they're loose. They're not putting a lot of weight on the front side or any of that stuff. So a dog that's alert and they're checking things out, but they're not aggressive, they're just alert. They're checking stuff out. So usually their tail is going to be a little more horizontal. It's not stiff, right? So it's not pointed straight out, but it's a little more horizontal. It's going up a little bit. Their tail may move slightly from side to side. And their ears are gonna be forward. So they may twitch a little like this, like they're gonna turn a little and twitch. That's to catch the sounds. Remember, dogs can hear so much better than we can. Their eyes are usually pretty wide open. They're open. I wouldn't say they're buggied, right? You're not gonna see the white of their eyes, but their eyes are pretty open and they're very aware of what is going on. So they're not snarly. So their forehead, all of that stuff is just going to be smooth. Their mouth is probably closed and they might be leaning forward slightly. So they are standing tall because remember, dogs will stand tall whenever they want to appear to be bigger, macho, in charge type of thing. So he's alert, he's checking things out. So in an aggressive dog, wrinkled nose, curled lips, their teeth are usually visible, sometimes even their gums, so they're just snarling up. Their mouth is open with a C shape. So the corner, this corner right here, do you see that? That is usually forward. So you'll see that little C. Kind of weird. Because not always, sometimes like it's just like us humans where it doesn't do this open here, but that's because it's pulling the top lip up whenever they are snarling. And then they usually are gonna have a very stiff stance and they're gonna be leaning forward a little bit. Okay, so now we're on to like fear, or this fear could be dominant and aggressiveness. Sorry, not not dominant. So they could be fearful or aggressive because they're fearful. So not every dog is fearful and cowardly. Some dogs are fearful and aggressive. So you're gonna see a lowered body. You're gonna see this tail tucked down with little or no movement. It doesn't always have to be under their body, but sometimes it is. And this fur, sometimes in both of these spots, is gonna be up. So their hackles are raised and their ears are back. So they're back here, but their pupils are dilated. So lips are slightly curled. Their teeth may be visible, may not be. And their corner is pulled back. So look at the difference of the corners of their mouth now. So now this part of their lips is actually closed and you don't see that C. So if I go back here, do you see this compared to this? Very different. So that's pulled back, but they might be showing their front lips and teeth. Okay, so stressed or distressed. Their tail is gonna be down. Their body is lowered, so they're kind of gonna walk like real low to the ground. Their ears are gonna be back. Their pupils are gonna be dilated. So they are gonna have, usually they're gonna have some rapid panting, and the corner of their mouth is gonna be back. So again, they have this C and they're panting now. And they're gonna possibly be sweating through their pads. Not that you're gonna be able to tell unless you're actually able to touch the dog, but they'll sweat through their pads. Fearful and worried. So a dog that's gonna be a little more worried is their tail is gonna be down. It may wag down here a little bit because of the anxiety. So any type of anxiety, there's gonna be movement there. It's just where is that tail carriage in that moment. So they're gonna have a lowered body, their ears are gonna be back again, but their forehead's gonna be smooth and their eyes, they're not gonna give you contact. So they're gonna avoid contact at this point because they're worried and they just want to avoid that situation. They may lick at their face or lick at the air. The corner of their mouth is going to be back. So remember that frown looking thing, but they could be licking their face, their lips, and the air. They may raise up their paws and they might leave sweaty footprints. Now, this could be extreme fear or total submission. So this is when, again, you need to understand your dog and know that, oh, my dog is the one that just rolls over on its back, or do they do it in both situations? So they roll over on their back, exposing their stomach, their throat, everything. They're very submissive. Their tail can be tucked up into their belly area. They may actually drop a few pieces of pee because of that excitement and submissiveness. Their ears are usually going to be back on the side of their heads. They may turn their head, but they're going to avoid contact with you. And their eyes could even be partially closed. Their nose and their forehead are smooth, so they're not growling, they're not showing their teeth, and the corner of their mouth again is back. So. And the best for last, so playfulness. Their tail is up. In our breed, it could be possibly curled with a loose tail wag. Their tail is gonna be waving. So dogs usually that are playful are gonna hold this position like this little downward facing dog.
That's a yoga pose.
I was gonna say that is a yoga pose. So they're gonna usually hold this for brief moments, and they'll, at one point or another, they're gonna hop around and be ready to play. Their ears are gonna be up, their pupils are dilated, their mouth, their tongue may be exposed, maybe not. Their front end can lower down here. All happy, happy, happy. Thank you guys so much for all the love and the support and for joining in this week. I hope you guys learned something, and we will see you next time. Bye.